Hey, Peeps Galucia here for my triumphant return to YouTube. Oh, 20 culture right on turn 2. How about that? So, a lot of things I want to get done. I'm going to actually kind of slowly go through the action here in Civcraft so that I can really focus on what I want to tell you guys here for a minute. So, for the next 4 days, I'm home before I go back out on the road as a truck driver for 3 weeks. I have a whole story for you today on exactly what happened with my orientation with the company I started working for, Schneider National. So, I want to get through all that stuff, but my idea here is, to, while I'm home, to do an entire playthrough of Civcraft, record the whole thing, and then I can work on editing and uploading it while I'm out on the road. So, one thing I'm going to be bringing you for sure is the Civcraft. The other stuff I want to bring you is, of course, at least a couple Civcraft updates and anything else that I can squeeze in. Obviously, I'm spending time with my family while I'm home, as one would expect me to do. And, you know, there's chores and errands that have to get done. You know, there's things that can't happen while I'm not here. You know, there's things that you want to get done around the house and stuff to square stuff away. Make sure that my family has everything they need before I go back out onto the road again. And all that good stuff. So I have a lot to do. But my peeps are a part of my family, and I want to make sure that you're taken care of. This last 3 weeks that I was away, I didn't have the time to prepare for it properly. I didn't have the necessary equipment. And I still don't, to a certain degree, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. And it was just too difficult to get a lot of videos put together. So I had the one Civcraft update for you, and that one Smite video that I hastily recorded just so I would have something. And that was it. And that's all I was able to come up with for you guys in the beginning. So I have a lot to talk about. I'm gonna miss things. I'm gonna jump around all over the place, and I apologize. But yeah, so that was all I was able to get ready for you guys in that short burst of time before I left for 3 weeks to do the orientation, which is going to be the main topic of today. I'm going to talk all about orientation and let you know about my adventures in Los Angeles, amongst other places. But now that I'm home for 4 days before I head back out on the road, I have time to try to get some stuff done. So besides this one episode now, because I wanted to post this as fast as possible so I could directly talk to you, the peeps, all the rest of the episodes for Civ won't be up for a little bit because I'm recording all of them directly to my laptop. And then when I'm on the road, like every night when I have time to spare, the plan is to go ahead and edit them and, you know, render them and upload them on the road. So I'll have all the footage ready to go, and I'll be able to feed you these these civilization videos as you know, as I go. So that's the plan. That's what I want to do. So that's what you can expect for this series. And then, like I said, as much of other stuff as humanly possible. Wow, turn 8 and we're meeting people. Son of a gun. So, oh goodness. Oh my. Oh. So that's the deal with that. And I wanted to do a full playthrough of Civilization 5. Last time I did a playthrough, it was of just the post-industrial era, which is perfectly reasonable. You know, nothing wrong with that, because this is a game that takes a really long time. But I really wanted to do a full Let's Play. I really want to get that done, and that's not going to be easy to do even in the 4 days I'm going to be home, because, like I said, I want to spend time with my family and everything else. So, you know, that may be a tall order, but I'm going to... Oh, crap. I'm going to do everything I can to fulfill that order. So, because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. But then again, I'm only going to be gone for 3 weeks at a time, typically. So, if for some reason I'm unable to record all of these, I probably won't be able to post them all in 3 weeks anyway. So, when I came home, I could finish it. So, honestly, you probably wouldn't even notice a difference. So, there you go. But I don't like spreading out gameplays of Civ that long. I'll come back in 3 weeks and forget what the hell I was even trying to do in this game. You know what I mean? Population. What's what now we want? We want advanced technology for the scouts. That's always fun. Hey, another warrior. So, on to today's topic, or the main topic, because there's lots of them, as you've already picked up on. The main topic for today is my orientation and updating you guys on why I was gone for 3 weeks. Some of you are probably better informed than others. A lot of my peeps, you know, really stay on top of stuff like that, as far as, you know, what I'm doing, why I am or am not posting. And I did talk about it a little bit. I talked about it basically as much as I really could at the time. There's only so much that I could get into with the time that I had and the couple of videos I was able to post. So I wanted to give you like a full, as much as I can remember it, a full run through of the last 3 weeks of my life, where I've been with this orientation with Schneider, and what that meant for me and what it's eventually going to mean for you guys. At the end of the video, I'll talk about my plans as far as how I plan on continuing to do YouTube, even though I'm giving myself an insanely busy schedule. So here we go. So the orientation. So after I got my CDL, which is my commercial driver's license for those of you that aren't keeping up here, after I got my CDL, I immediately got into Schneider. But getting into Schneider, quote unquote, isn't as easy as just like, congratulations, you're hired. What you end up having to do is an orientation period that lasts for 3 weeks, and it's down in Los Angeles for the most part. We'll get into the details. But it's basically like a 3-week long interview, where at the end of that 3 weeks, you're officially hired on as a Schneider driver. So I'll break it all down for you, okay? Because it was an adventure, all right? So day one, you head out. They purchase you a Greyhound, okay? So for those of you that don't know, 100 gold. For those of you that don't know, I live in Washington State, on the northern side of Washington State. So about somewhere between 12 and 1,300 miles away from Los Angeles, depending on what part of Los Angeles you're heading to or whatever. So a good fair amount of distance between me and my target. The problems I was having, besides that, is, so they purchase you a Greyhound ticket, yeah? And it's like a 32-hour bus ride. And if you've never taken a Greyhound or any kind of bus, you don't know where I'm coming from. If you have, and you've been on a bus for even like an hour or more, you can already get a sense of how miserable that experience can be, okay? Now, I'm not necessarily here to trash on Greyhound, but I had my fair share of miserable experiences throughout my Greyhound-ness, because the beginning and the end of this story is Greyhound, and the whole lot of it was just miserable. So Greyhounding, I'm all the way down in South California. We're probably an hour away from Los Angeles. We're almost to our final destination. I've been on the bus now for like 31 hours at this point. I'm an hour away from being there, and then I have one short bus ride after Los Angeles to get to my final city, where the hotel was that my company was paying for me to stay in. So we're about an hour away. Now, actually, I should say we're even a couple hours away. I could tell that the bus driver was having some trouble, and there were like some buzzers and stuff going on. So it's like, oh boy, like what's going on here? So turns out the bus was overheating and having a lot of issues. And so we pulled over an unscheduled stop at a rest stop right before this stretch of I-5 called the Grapevine, which is a series of mountains that you have to pass over. It's a slower speed limit for whatever reason, and it's quite a hill climb. And for any vehicle, it's strenuous on the motor to pull it up there. So if you're having issues with your engine cooling, as our bus was before we even got to the Grapevine, that could be a serious problem, because your engine's going to get a lot hotter while it's straining to lift you up over that hill. So needless to say, I knew that we were in some trouble, and I was talking to the bus driver on what he was going to do, and he was talking, to the Greyhound people, whoever it is that he has to call, and they said, well, do this and that to the bus, like open up these vents or whatever. And then they were like, just go for it. They basically just told him to go for it. So that's what he did. Now, we made it up the Grapevine, and to his credit, his name escapes me now because that was 3 weeks ago and I'm bad with names, but to his credit, he was a hell of a driver and got it up the hill. And again, not an easy thing to do. And we probably went 10, 15 miles an hour the whole way up the hill. But he got it up there, kept it, the engine cooled off. The engine cooled off is a key word there, because that is the only thing that was kept cooled off. He had to turn the AC off, of course, because the air conditioning compressor will make the engine run hotter. So that had to get turned off. It was getting hot in that bus, let me tell you. But especially with the engine getting as hot as it was and whatnot. So he got it up the hill, and then going down the hill, easy peasy. You just let the momentum of the hill take you. And he was going to see, okay, how long can I ride this hill out, and maybe the engine will get cooled off enough, and then we can just continue to drive. He's just trying to get us to L.A. Let's just get to L.A. You know, the bus is going to have to get repaired when we get to L.A. It's going to break down. It's going to fall apart. But let's just get that far. You know, that's his goal. Well, someone cuts us off right at the bottom of the hill, and he has to apply the brakes, and we lose a lot of momentum from that. And that was the start of our downfall. So we probably get a couple miles away from the Grapevine, and he has to pull over for good. And it's just like, this thing is done. So we're out on the side of a Los Angeles highway. We're almost there. You can pretty much see the city. I mean, we're right there. We just couldn't quite get it. Now, some of the people, their final destination was there in Los Angeles. We ended up being there so long, people are like calling their family and stuff to like come and find them on the highway and pick them up. Several people got picked up off the side of the highway, right? By the time we finally got out of there, after the same state trooper came by twice, and the second time got on the radio with Greyhound, was like, you need to get people out of here now. These guys have been on the side of the highway like way too long. This is ridiculous. Like, we had a state trooper like yelling at Greyhound for leaving their passengers straight on the side of the highway. By the time we got into a replacement bus and got rolling, we had been on the side of the road for 5.5 hours. So needless to say, we missed our connection. It actually turned out that there was another guy going to Schneider on the bus the whole time from all the way from Washington, and I had no idea that he was, you know, on his way there for Schneider. So, but you know, you're stuck on the side of the road for 5.5 hours. I pretty much talked to everybody at some point, so I found out that he was a Schneider driver, and so we kind of banded together. We missed our connection. The next bus wasn't going to be till the morning, which meant we had to spend the night in the Los Angeles bus terminal if we were going to be taking the bus. Well, our orientation, this was on Monday now, orientation starts Tuesday morning. So it's like, well, now we're going to miss our orientation. So he had some money, and I was like, look, dude, get us a cab, and Schneider will probably pay you back for it. If for some reason they don't, I'll pay you back for half of it. You know, the half that, you know, the payback for my half. So he agreed to that, and we took a cab, $110 taxi. It was a huge rip-off cab. I mean, this guy was out to take advantage of people. It was the biggest ripoff ever. It wasn't that far. It was not that far. It should have cost like $60. I understand that taxis are expensive, and it should have cost like $60, $110 for this cab. So, dude was pretty mad that he had spent $110. But fast forward a little bit, Schneider did end up paying him back. So at least he got squared away with that. But so we didn't get into the hotel until like 11 at night. Okay, and we had to be up at 4:30 for our orientation to get there in time. So we get like 4.5 hours of sleep that night, and it was just, and Schneider puts you in rooms that are 2 people, and they had an open room. So me and this dude ended up rooming together the whole first week. We were roomies. So we get like 4.5 hours of sleep, and then in the morning it's time to go to the Schneider orientation. Okay, now a couple of key points about the bus trip, because I'm going to back up here a little bit and tell you a little bit about the bus trip itself. Most of the bus trip, I sat next to, I don't want to say a crazy woman, because that's not nice, but she was definitely a free spirit, okay? Had her own way of doing things, but I respect that. So, but delightful woman, and she sat next to me almost the whole time. On her way to prison, but integrity check. She was on her way to turn herself in to go to prison. She lived in Oregon, and she was going all the way down to SoCal because there was a warrant out for her arrest. And it was an offense worthy of jail, but not so worthy of jail that anyone was willing to extradite her, because she tried to turn herself in Oregon, and they wouldn't take her. So she had to pay for a bus ticket to go all the way down to SoCal so that she could turn herself in. So if nothing else, she's got integrity. So, but it was very interesting sitting next to her, believe me. And I could dedicate an entire video, and maybe I will later, and we'll touch back on this topic, just about her. Very interesting person. So anyway, that was like the most interesting thing besides being stuck on the side of the road about the Greyhound trip. So, Schneider, day one. Day one is literally, it's all based around 2 things. For day one with Schneider, you are filling out tons of paperwork. When I say tons of paperwork, I mean mountains of paperwork for getting into the company, pertaining to any possible thing you could possibly think about as far as paperwork in a company. Just mountains of paperwork, okay? And a physical, and not like a, to even get a CDL license, I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to do, most truck driving requires you to have what's called a DOT physical, Department of Transportation physical, you know, where they do the whole thing and check everything to make sure that you're physically fit to you know, be a truck driver or whatever. No, this is more of a physical test to make sure that you can do the specific things that Schneider expects you to be able to do in a job. So, like, you have to lift, like, milk crates with weights in them and carry them to a certain distance, and you have to do, like, a bunch of squats. You have to, like, go underneath this, like, table thing that simulates crawling underneath of a trailer. You have to climb on top of the table thing, which simulates getting inside of a trailer. Like, all these kinds of things. Like, you have to squish by this thing, and you have to pull on this rope thing, and, like, it's just all this stuff that's basically simulating. If you were to have this job, these are all the things. It's simulating all the various physical activities you're going to have while working for Schneider. They want to make sure that you can do it. And all the while, they're monitoring your blood pressure. If your blood pressure gets too high at some point while doing this, then you fail. But I'm still young. Speaking of which, at the day of recording this, not sure if I'll be able to post it in time today, it is my 30th birthday, speaking of being young. So there you go. But anyway, I'm still young. So it wasn't that big of a deal, although I had a wicked headache that day for some reason, which I can also touch on later on because I found out why I had a wicked headache. Sneaky Best Western. But I had a wicked headache that day, which made it a little bit more challenging, but I got through it all. Day one completed. Now, once day one is completed and you have proven that you can work for Schneider, that you have the physical capabilities of doing that, that's when you're quote-unquote hired, but it's tentatively. You're hired, but you're still going through this 3-week-long interview process to make sure that you're hired as a driver. Right now, you're hired to do the training, okay? This has to be the most extensive training of any trucking company in the country. Very thorough, very good training, and they really set you up for success. I cannot say enough nice things about the Schneider people that I dealt with throughout the entire training process and about their curriculum there and making sure that their drivers are squared away. They're not just putting people behind the wheel of a truck and saying, okay, go pick this up. They're making sure that everyone is the best that they can be, which makes sense. I mean, you're going to be the safest drivers on the road. You're going to be the most efficient drivers on the road. And the customers that are hiring you to pick up this cargo can trust that a Schneider driver is going to get their cargo from point A to point B without breakage and stuff like that because they're squared away. So, you know, they have a reputation to uphold. They're one of the biggest trucking companies in the country, and I feel that they are getting that done. If I can just toot the bandwagon there for Schneider, because I'm sold. Great training, so we're going to go through it here. They want you to find the lands of Austria. Okie dokie. So, all of week one is it's a mix between classroom training and truck training. So, in the classroom, they're teaching you all the ways that Schneider does their thing, okay? In relation to what we refer to as hard skills. There's hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are basically skills that have to directly do with the truck itself. Driving the truck, backing it up, whatever. Those are hard skills. And then the soft skills are anything that has to do with the paperwork for the delivery, dealing with the computer system that all the trucks have inside of them to that does everything, basically. It's not just a sat nav. It does a bajillion different things. You know, those are the soft skills. So all week one is the hard skills, yeah. So you're doing that. Half of it's in the classroom, half of it's in the truck. You get assigned a trainer, and you and that trainer, they work with you as far as how to properly couple to the trailer, uncouple from the trailer. I obviously already know how to do that because I got my CDL license, but Schneider has their specific way of doing it. They want to do it this way, and that's fine. So it's their company, it's their truck, it's their trailer. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're doing it the way that they are suggesting you should do it. Fine by me. Backing, a very specific backing is called a 45 degree, and it's the type of backing maneuver you're mostly going to use out in the real world, so they go through that a lot. And then driving out on the actual road. And again, they want to make sure that you're doing things the way that they want you to do it. So they're going through everything with you and just making sure that you're driving the vehicle the way that they want you to drive. And that's all week 1. Not a lot of stories from that. It was pretty straightforward. I did my thing. Saturday is the last day of that. It's an early day on Saturday. And then Jeez Louise. I'm going to have to use my upgrade just to heal him so that he freaking survives. This sucks. Then you get to link up with what they call your TE. Okay, this is your training engineer. Your TE is going to go out on the road with you for your second week, and you're actually, at this point, doing the job, okay? At this point, you're out there picking up loads, taking them. You're doing the job for this whole week, okay? But you're doing it with a trainer sitting in the passenger seat that's going to be able to help you throughout the various processes. And if there's a situation where you get totally stuck and it's totally necessary, then they can take the wheel and get us out of a sticky situation, which happened to me once, and I can talk about that later. I'm pretty sure this is going to go into a second video at this point, yeah? This story is going to have to get continued on page 2. You know what I'm saying? So week 2, you go out with your training engineer, and it went great. I loved being out on the road, which is good because it's a really good test for the job in general. Am I going to like this job? Am I going to like the lifestyle of just always being out on the road and showering at truck stops and always using public restrooms and stuff like that? You have to be okay with things like that. Which, by the way, the showers at like the Flying J and the Pilots and stuff, which is where I'm typically going to be using it, they're like 10 times nicer than the showers in my house, okay? Just for the record, they're awesome. So no worries there. But anyway, you have to get used to that kind of a lifestyle, and it's not for everybody, of course. Not everybody would be interested in living a lifestyle like this. So doing that for a week with a TE, number one, is a great test for whether or not you can even endure the lifestyle in general. The other thing about it is that it can be a little bit challenging. There's a lot of things you got to do out there on the road. And the nice thing about... No! What the... That was a hell of a misclick that led to me not shooting that guy in the face. Interesting. Okay, whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you're going to run into. You're going to have... Various issues are going to come up. And with a TE there to work you through it, it'll really help you get through the nerves of those first few jobs that you have working for Schneider, okay? So at this point, I'll point out the fact that starting from Wednesday, day 2, day 1 was the physical fitness test and stuff like that. Day 2 is when we actually started training. Starting from there, I'm officially getting paid for the orientation, okay? As a truck driver from this point on, the way that my pay works is I get paid by the mile. Every mile that I drive, I get X amount of monies, okay? During orientation, though, it's just a flat rate of pay. You get X amount of dollars per day that you're in orientation, including that week that you're out driving. You're not getting paid by the mile when you're out there like that. The TE gets paid by the mile. You're getting paid by the day, the same as you were when you were in the classroom. So just to clarify that. So, but you're out there, you're doing the job. There's a lot of things that, you're not going to be sure about, and this is a way to figure it all out. So going out there with the TE was really helpful. I learned a lot. I had a lot of interesting loads. The one load that I really wanted to talk about, and I'll end the video on this, and then I'll finish talking about the orientation, and then what is up for the future in the next video. So for all of you that want to continue to listen in and find out, okay, what's Galucia going to be up to for the rest of his life while he's doing YouTube, tomorrow's episode is where I'm going to touch on all that. So today we'll finish talking about week 2 of orientation and figure out where I'm going to put a settler. Definitely on the ocean, and there's whales and fish right there next to the gold. Da-da-da-da-da. Perfect. So the one issue I had, and this is what happened. So one of our loads was our second load. Okay, we went from California, where we were at, in the Fontana area, which is outside of LA, basically. We had a delivery in Buckeye, Arizona, which is basically just west of Phoenix. Hello, Ramsey. So after Buckeye, we had to go over to Tucson to pick up our delivery that was going to then go all the way back to South California to Long Beach, which is, again, it's not too far from LA. So, yeah, we had to go to Long Beach from there, and, oh no, who can I shoot in the face? Oh no. I need to send someone back. So yeah, so we had to go pick that load up. Pain in the butt to pick this load up, first of all. They had to keep reloading it because it was really heavy. You're only allowed to weigh a certain amount of weight. The whole truck as a total can only weigh 80,000 pounds. And then each, oh God, no, 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 come on. I just got him. Damn it. Damn it. Where are all these dudes coming from all of a sudden? I thought the area was clear and I could just send them up without an escort. Maybe he'll go for the worker. I'll just leave the worker there. Hold on, let's see what happens. Because then if Egypt kills them, they get my settler, man. That was my free settler. That's the whole point. Damn it. That's the whole point of picking this type of thing, is that you don't have to pay for your first settler. Now I've got this guy doing bad things to people. So, yeah, you can only weigh a total of 80,000 pounds. And the other problem is that each axle or set of axles can only weigh a certain amount as well. The trailer's axles, what's referred to as the tandems, they have a set weight to them. It's 34,000 pounds. Can't weigh more than 34,000 pounds. And you can change that by shifting the weight around in the trailer or by sliding the tandems. They actually slide on the trailer front and back, and depending on where they're positioned will depend on how much weight is on them. But since our load's going to California, there's only so much you can do. California has rules about where the tandems can be, and it has something to do with bridges and something. I don't know. But they have to be pretty far forward, and you can't slide them back that much. So we couldn't slide the tandems back. So it took us like 2.5 hours to get loaded while this guy figured out how he was going to get all of this load on our trailer legally. This load, by the way, was recycling. Big compacted bales of recycling being loaded onto my trailer and going to Long Beach, and then after that they're like shipped to China or something like that. I don't know. So where's my guy now? Where's my freaking guy? There must be a camp up there, and he was put into the camp. So so that's what the problem was in the beginning. Now I've got this huge load. A huge load, okay? The load was so huge, so heavy, that we needed fuel. We couldn't fill the tanks. If we had filled the tanks, we would have been over 80,000 pounds. Like, that would have put us over. So we couldn't even fill up our tanks all the way. Just enough to get us to where we were going, okay? When you have a really heavy load like that, it makes everything in the truck way harder. Everything gets a lot harder, and especially the shifting, especially shifting from a dead stop. Shifting your truck from a dead stop when you have all that weight is very difficult, because you got to get the truck rolling before you can really get it. You got to start the rolling process to get everything going, which is very challenging to do when you're that heavy. So fast forward to the conclusion of today's video and my final story. We're at a weigh station, and what my TE calls the worst weigh station in the country, and it's one of these random weigh stations in California. I forget the name of the town that it's in. It's on the I-10, and the line for this place is huge. Okay, so it takes us a half hour to get to the weigh station. Really quick, if you don't know what a weigh station is, you see them all the time on the side of the highways. You never paid attention before because you weren't a truck driver. Every once in a while, you'll get told that you have to go into a weigh station. And at this weigh station, they will they weigh you and make sure that you're not overweight, because, like I just said, there's legal deals with how heavy you can be, and they also are going to check certain things and make sure that your truck is okay. And they can take your license right there on the spot, and they can do a full inspection of your truck and shut your truck down right there on the spot. They have a lot of power in those places, okay? So we're in line for a half hour waiting to get up to the thing. So probably 30 different times I had to stop and go. And every time is a challenge with this much weight. I'm still new. And clutching a huge truck like that and getting it to start rolling when you weigh 79,500 pounds is pretty intense. 30 times I probably was able to successfully stop and go, okay? And on the 30th time, 31st time we'll say, when I actually had to go to the weigh station, it was my turn to pull on, couldn't get the truck to go. There was a little bit of a hill there too, and that really plays against you. There was a small hill, and that small hill is making it that much more difficult for you to get that truck to roll. Couldn't make it happen, man. That was like my one embarrassment on the road. I was stuck there for like 3 minutes trying to get that to go. Couldn't make it happen, and so I quickly threw the parking brake on, switched seats with my TE, and he took over to get us across the damn thing. And but you know, I didn't sweat it. You know, so I didn't let it get to me or whatever. You know, these kind of things happen. I'm a new driver, and that was a very difficult situation. And my TE said I was one of the best, you know, students that he's had in his truck in a long time. And he was really proud of the rest of the work that I did out there on the road. And, you know, he said that was my only real problem the whole time we were out there. And most people have, like, way more problems than that. So, you know, he said, you know what, you know, like, you're not that bad off. You know, he told me not to worry about it. And the rest of it was a good experience. I'm going to leave you with that, okay? So the next video is going to start, because this is a long video, and I apologize. The next video is going to start, and our story will pick up with the end of week 2, when I'm concluding my on-the-road training and heading back to Los Angeles for week 3, which is mostly classroom again. Okay? There's some stories involved there, so I'm not going to finish week 2 yet. We're at the end of week 2. We got one more load to take back to Arizona, and then the story picks up there. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Look forward to the rest of the orientation story. Hopefully you've been enjoying listening about my travels on the road. I imagine that a lot of my videos in the future are going to be about my travels on the road. I'm sure a lot of stories get generated while you're out there and all the things that you see. Because I could have gotten into way more specifics and probably talked about my orientation for this entire series, but maybe we will. Who knows? But so next video, we'll finish talking about orientation, and we will also go into more detail about the future of YouTube and what it means for you and me, because there's a lot of things that I need to do, and I have plans for bringing you YouTube while being a truck driver, and I wanted to divulge those plans so that you guys know exactly what it is that I'm trying to get done. So expect that conversation in the next video. I can't thank you enough for all the people that have stuck around and are watching this video, and you know, I know I was away for a little while. I know my views have fallen down pretty steadily in the 3 weeks I've been away, but I really want to try to get that back to where it needs to be. So I appreciate all the people that have stuck it out with me. I love every single one of my peeps, and I look forward to talking to you in the next episode. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time. Laters!